From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, real therapists. If you have any questions to ask or advice to give, come on over to podtherapy.net and join the Therapeutic Alliance. It's Therapy Thursday. Today on the podcast, Dr. Graybeard over there is going to tell us what it's like to grow old without dignity.
I have one gray hair.
It counts. And now, broadcasting from Level 9 Studios, that guy's Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some pod therapy. I think it's good to acknowledge that. It pleases me that you are open enough with everybody at the office that the day that you find gray hair, that you need to tell everybody.
I don't think I needed to. I think you all got to enjoy the privilege of being made aware that a gray hair had been found in my beard. And so now change my name in your phone, please.
Well, and as a therapist, what I like to do, I like to empathize and I like to be able to relate to my patients, but I can't relate to that.
I can't believe that. You've never had a gray hair in your life.
I cannot relate to that problem. I do not have that problem.
I don't see it as a problem. Listen, my wife has talked to me. I cannot tell you how many times we've gone through Walmart and we'll go through like the hair aisle and there's that just for men hair dye and there's one called salt and pepper. And it's like it's a comb that you run that does a little bit of gray and a little bit of black. And every time I try to sneak it into the cart and she's like, stop it. Like you are in your 30s.
So you want.
I want it. I want Mitt Romney temples, man.
Oh, my God.
That is sophisticated. Nick, can I go on a sexist rant for a second? Listen to my rant. If women dye their...
listeners.
Goodbye. If women dye their hair, we're all fine with it. We think it's totally cool. But when a guy says, oh, you know what? I didn't like to add a little sophistication in there. He's like, oh, no, you're weird. That's weird to do.
No, I understand that. I can understand that. I remember when I was a kid, my dad... in his position, he was one of the youngest ones to have what was his position. And so when he had these meetings with all these other offices, he felt very out of place because he was so much younger. So I remember him saying, I just wish I had just a little gray just around the temples.
Yes.
And then he got his wish, and then it went out of control.
Oh, no. So careful what you wish for. But I'm just saying, the men get away with a little bit more. They get a little bit of gray, look sophisticated. It's like, all right, this is a good, I trust this guy. So, but now it's fine. My worries are over, Nick. The first one came. Yeah. So I'm good. It's right there if you can't see it. It's you can go ahead and tune into the website or the Facebook or the Twitter, and I'll make sure that everybody gets a good look at my gray hair. I have one.
Yeah.
I think I should name him.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So anyway, Graybeard. Yeah. Graybeard. That's now my pirate name.
Yep. Dr. Graybeard.
Dr. Graybeard.
So, we made it to the studio, thankfully. Yes. We had a crazy morning.
A bunch of crises. People, if you forgot that we are real therapists, today's the day we will remind you because we had real issues to deal with all morning long. But we're here, and so we're excited to be here. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we have an awesome game that we're going to play today, which I am super pumped about. Been thinking about. Nick is less pumped.
We'll see.
We're going to enjoy this game. I think you're really going to like it.
So before we get started, a couple shout-outs.
Yes.
To some folks.
Shout-outs.
Yes, I want to... I got to say hi to our fan club president, Dawn.
Yes, Dawn Hill. She's our fan club president.
I got to meet last week. I was actually at a training that she was at, and she recognized me. And,
of course she did.
And of course she came over and said, hey, I'm a big fan. I love what you guys are doing with the pod and everything.
That was so funny.
And... I'm going to explain to you for a second like how my brain works because for a split second there, I was thinking to myself, okay, this is as close as I'm ever going to get to becoming a celebrity. How do I want to play this? Because I almost, for a second there, I was thinking about just going full Hollywood diva.
Oh, yeah.
And being like, apparently you think it's okay just to bother me in my personal life.
Get out of my space.
And I'm a human on my
being.
Lunch break.
I'm at a training, lady.
But because that's the only time. Like, I'll never have that opportunity again. It's now gone. But I feel like I made the right choice.
What'd you do?
I just said, hey, thank you. I appreciate that.
You remember
nice
the little
you.
people. Good for you, Nick. Yeah.
That was Jim.
You always
Don,
have time for your fans.
I did not say that.
No, it was really funny because you guys were both at a training and I was holding down the fort. And Dawn is also a therapist in the community. And so she texted me and she said, I think that Nick is here at this training. What should I do? And I was like, go talk to him. And she's like, oh my God, he's like a celebrity. And then Nick texts me and he goes, hey, somebody actually knows who we are. And I'm like, yeah, that's Dawn. She's our president of our fan club. She's we assigned that job to her, by the way. She never asked for it. We just said, hey, congrats. You're now president of the fan club because you have an unbroken record of listening to every single pod, and she usually comments and tweets.
Right.
And she, oh my God, she was all over me for screwing up on that ringtone thing.
Thank you. That was the next point I was going to get to. Dawn, thank you very much. It was nice meeting you, and thank you for having my back on the Prince ringtone scandal.
God, just everybody has been piling on Jim because I didn't recognize When Doves Cry the ringtone. And everybody's tweeting. There's comments on the website. And some of them are just like matter of fact, like it's When Doves Cry.
And I didn't tell you this, but Scott, our engineer, threatened to quit because you didn't know.
Because I just lost everybody's faith. So he said, you know what? I thought you guys were something different than what you are. Yes. No, I've been so thoroughly shamed. I mean, it is bad. Like, there's people on the street, they're like, you didn't know? It's the Prince, man. What are you doing?
So we had another listener, Carrie from Iowa, contacted me and let me know that she lost all respect for you for not knowing Prince.
Okay.
However, she lost all respect for me for not knowing the app Zedge.
Okay, good. I'm glad that it comes full circle.
So we lost a listener.
Yes. We lost 100% of the respect in the room. Excellent.
So one down, 99 to go.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And it's not that we want... Let me clarify something. It's not that we want to lose listeners. No. It's just that we want our listenership to be exclusive.
Yeah. Exclusive.
Yeah. We don't want just anybody listening to this.
That's right. Guys, if you're listening to this right now, if you're one of the few, you're part of the elite. You get it. You get it. And you know what? We're okay with that.
Essentially, we're doing this for the hipsters.
Yes.
We want the people who will say, I was listening to them back before it was cool.
Yeah, before Pod Therapy went all sell-out mainstream and got an HBO deal. I was one of the original 100. That's how Dawn feels. She's like, I was the first. And they just made me the president of the fan club. I never asked for this. No, Nick and I were joking that our fan club is going to be like something you don't want to be a part of. Like it's something you're trying to get out of. It's like, are you in the fan club? Yeah. Yeah. How do you get out of this? Apparently you have to share the pod, and if you give it to enough people, you get, it's like a pyramid scheme.
But it's not.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's not. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's an opportunity, Nick.
It is.
To be your own boss.
Yeah.
Make your own hours. Believe in yourself.
Absolutely.
You can share our podcast and get out of the fan club.
Yeah. Work your way out.
Work your way out, Dawn. Yeah. She's working on it.
Yeah. And one other shout out I want to say, I want to wish a happy birthday to Dr. Ben out in North Carolina. It was actually his birthday yesterday, now it'll be 2 days ago by the time this airs. He's a loyal listener. He listens every Thursday morning when it comes out.
And he's a loyal liker on Facebook. I've seen those likes and I was like, there's Ben. Gotta love Ben. He's the first one. Hits that button fast. So happy birthday to you, Doc.
Yep.
Have a good one, buddy.
Yeah.
Wishing you happy birthday from your favorite podcast. And as a member of our fan club, which you never asked to be, may you eventually become an ex-fan club member. May you realize the dream of former membership in the fan club of Pod Therapy.
Absolutely. So happy birthday, Ben.
Happy birthday, Ben.
We should just make that a regular part of the show.
Yes.
Kind of like Al Roker.
Just say happy birthday to Ben every week.
Oh, I was thinking other people, but we can do Ben.
Yeah, no, it's just always Ben.
That's fine.
This is Pod Therapy reminding you that Ben's birthday's in February. He has an Amazon list, which you can find on our website. All these people are like, hey, Ben, I heard about you. And happy birthday, man. And good job. I really like you.
That's awesome.
That's the deal. See, we're loyal back. We're loyal to our fans.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, we've got a good show. We actually have, we've got some really good questions people wrote in.
Yes. Very good ones.
We've got our trivia game.
Yes. Can I announce it? Can I explain what that is?
Yeah.
Let's do this. All right. So here's what happened. For those of you who just are catching this episode, a week ago, I suffered horrible humiliation and have just been piled on all week. So Nick, who just teleported here from the 1800s and is only now beginning to realize that light is a thing and electricity, he didn't know how to change his ringtone on his phone. So I was giving him a hard time for it. And I taught him about Zedge, which is an app to change your ringtone, who does not sponsor us but totally should. And so he said, hey, guess what? I already did change my ringtone. And I said, oh, that's great. So I called him live on the air, and his ringtone played. And he was waiting to see if I could identify it. And apparently, I was the only person on planet Earth that day who could not identify that it was When Doves Cry by Prince. And there was just, I have received nothing but a beatdown almost every day. So every day in the office, Nick and I's offices are literally, they share the same wall. And he leaves his door open, and he keeps his phone on ring, even though he doesn't need to. And he's a therapist, and we usually don't. And he keeps it on ring, and then when it plays, he lets it play. And I'm pretty sure he's calling himself.
Right, I do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's calling himself from the office phone, because he lets it play, and then he'll yell across the hall into my door, "Hey Jim, that's Prince. That's Prince When Doves Cry." I'm like, thanks, Nick. So I went back to my bat cave after my humiliating defeat, and I invented a new game that I've proposed and has been reluctantly accepted by Nick. And the new game that we're going to play from time to time here on Pod Therapy is called Ringtone Revenge. Ringtone Revenge is the name of the game, and here's how the game is played. So there's a website where you can get psychology trivia questions. They're completely randomly generated. I am going to ask Nick 3. He's going to ask me 3. And the winner of our little game gets to keep their current ringtone. The loser has to, on air, accept for 1 week a new ringtone on their private phone, and that ringtone gets to be selected by our listeners. And this week, none other than the president of our fan club has submitted her ringtone that she would like to have us accept. So this week, the very first time we're playing Ringtone Revenge, this is the ringtone that we are playing to avoid. Yes. Yes. Nick, I am so excited to get to listen to this over, and I'm just going to redial your phone like 30 times.
Hypothetically,
it's going to happen.
If I were to lose.
Yes. When you lose.
Joke's on you, because I
you
would have that as a ringtone anyway. That's right in my ballpark.
It's so sad because it's true.
It is.
I'll bet you have that in your phone right now. It's probably just a song. You have a playlist.
Not yet.
Can you like name the album that song is from?
No, that's I'm pretty good with. What's really weird is I'm pretty good with music trivia.
Yeah,
like I know a lot about bands and songs and how they were written and all that stuff. When it comes to putting a song to an album, I'm terrible.
I cannot. Well, we're going to find out how you are at other trivia. So if you would like to recommend next week's Ringtone Revenge song, should we play this game again or when we play it again, tweet to us or email us. Come down to the website, podtherapy.net, comment on this episode with what ringtone song you would like the loser to have to adopt, or tweet to us at podtherapyguys, or comment on the Facebook, facebook.com/podtherapy, or you could always just email us, podtherapyguys@gmail.com, and tell us if you have any questions you'd like us to incorporate into the game, fine. And otherwise, you could just tell us, this is the song I think the loser should have to adopt. And even if Nick likes that song, I will have called it so many times that I promise you he will vomit every time he has to hear it. So we are going to have a fighting contest. Are you ready for this, Mr. Tangeman?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do this, okay? Ringtone Revenge starts right now. And here's the very first question. Nick, gymnophobia is the fear of what? Gymnophobia is the fear of what?
Taking showers in the gym after gym class.
That is a great guess, and you're wrong. The answer is nudity. Nudity, you amateur. How do you not know that?
You want to just do your 3 and then we'll do mine?
Okay, yeah, we'll do 3 back to back. All right, that's fair. All right, so Nick is right now 0-1. Okay, so it's looking real good for Jim.
I really want that ringtone.
Hey, Nick, I'm never going to give you up. I'm so excited. All right, question number 2. The psychological test of human emotions and personality using ink blots is formerly known as what?
Rorschach.
Yes! Ding, ding, ding!
1 for 2.
All right, so he's 1 for 2. Third question. Here comes the strike. Here it is. Question number 3. The desire to eat strange things that are non-nutritional is known as what? The desire to eat strange things which are non-nutritional is known as what?
Pica.
Yes! Oh my gosh, you got that!
Bam!
Oh no. I'm really scared. This is not good.
I don't know why you're scared. Like, if you're gonna lose a contest, this is the one to lose.
Oh man, I'm all right. I'm pretty intimidated. And all right, so I'm looking to see why.
Are you changing the difficulty setting before you hand me the phone?
Yeah, I'm trying to as fast as I can. All right, so I have to get 3 out of 3 to beat you. If
Correct.
we get 2 out of 3, Scott comes up with a tiebreaker question, and it can be about anything. Okay, it can literally be, anything in the entire universe. So, all right,
Fair enough.
if I can get all 3 though, you're dead.
Okay, here we go. Which psychologist invented obedience using electric shocks?
Obedience using electric shocks.
Yeah. Okay.
Skinner. B.F. Skinner.
No, Milgram. Stanley Milgram.
Oh, no.
That's one that you know after you have read the answer.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
It's like, oh yeah,
I have a poster of him in my bedroom, so
of course,
kind of
everybody has a Stanley Milgram.
Yeah,
poster.
I just call him Stan.
Right.
Okay, so I'm 0 for 1. Oh God, I don't want this ringtone.
Next question. Oh my God.
All
okay.
Right, what is it?
Who is considered the father of psychoanalysis?
That would be Mr. Sigmund Freud. Yeah, or Siggy's, as we used to call him back in the academy in Germany.
Okay.
in the 1800s. All right, so I'm 1 for 2.
What is the fear of clowns called?
Clownophobia. Clownophobia.
No.
What the hell else would you call that? It's clownophobia.
Chlorophobia.
Chlorophobia?
Chlorophobia?
Chloro? This is ridiculous.
Chlorophobia.
This is no, God. Oh, God.
Embrace it, Jim.
All right. So back-to-back humiliating defeats for Jim. First, I don't know that it's Prince. Now I get to live with Rick Astley. And no, but I'm a man of honor, Nick.
I get to.
That's right. I'm a man of honor. I'm gonna take my lumps. And if you would like to suggest a revenge ringtone that you think would be particularly painful, I would greatly receive it. I think that would be fantastic to have. And we will do this again. So for 1 week, I shall own my punishment, Nick. I'm a man of honor. I'll take it. Take my lumps.
Right
Thanks,
on.
Dawn. Thanks, president of the fan club, Dawn. Now I have Rick roll all day, every day.
All right. Well, let's do some work.
Yeah, I figure we probably ought to do some work. Okay, Nick. So now it's time to get some work done. Our first question is coming from an anonymous writer on our website, and it is titled "Communicating in a Relationship." And here's what it says. Hey, love your podcast so far. I think you guys are doing great.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for
All
saying
right.
that. Yeah. Next email. It actually continues.
Oh, go on.
I've been wanting to ask for advice from you guys for some time. All right, here we go. She says, I'm 24, and I've been with my significant other for 8 months. Lately, I've been feeling upset because he doesn't communicate the way I do. When I talk about my childhood or ask him about his, he's always very short and to the point. He rarely asks me questions back and creates a conversation. He calls me every day after work because he wants to check in, but we never really get to talk about how his day went. It's just good or busy. When I ask him his opinion on social issues, his response is often, oh, I don't know. We hardly ever connect in conversation anymore. I feel like we used to talk about anything, and he was really open with me, something he said he wasn't able to do with other women in the past. I want to be able to have a dialogue with him, and not just short conversations with no depth. I want us to talk and tell each other how we appreciate each other and what we love about each other. I've seen him try before and succeed in having deep conversations that are emotionally stimulating, but they don't happen often enough for me. Maybe once every few months. If I'm an 8 on the communication scale, I think he's probably a 3. I'm very much into working on myself through therapy and self-help books, but he hasn't shown any interest in doing the same. I don't want to interrogate him about why he can't communicate and have to work through it. I'm fearful I'll just push him away, and I want to explain myself in a non-aggressive way. How can we work through this? Can we work through this? I don't want to change who he is, but I feel like we need to grow in this area, or it could be problematic for our future.
Okay. Well, first of all, good job on, taking initiative and working on yourself. That's something that I think everybody on earth should be doing in some sense, whether it's doing some self-help books or therapy or just doing something good for yourself. So good job.
Yeah, you tune up your car. You should tune up your life.
Right. So I guess some things that kind of stuck out to me. One of the things that I heard you say in the email was, at times, or there has been exceptions. There has been times when he has opened up, that he has gone deep and kind of expressed himself. My mind automatically, kind of with the whole solution-focused background, is to say, okay, well, that's our anomaly right there. That's something different.
Right.
That's something that worked. I would encourage you to spend a little time, try to figure out what were those conditions like that may have facilitated that.
Yeah.
I know for me, there's certain times of the day that I'm open and I want to talk and I'm, involved and engaged. And there's other times where I don't. I just kind of close down at a certain time.
Right.
Whether or not I've eaten has an impact on how much I'm willing to talk too.
I can confirm. That's true.
So that would be one thing I would take a look at right there is kind of, if it worked once, dig into that a little bit, figure out what was going on, how can we recreate that? And I get what she's saying as far as not wanting to push too hard and just, that, because that may be damaging to the relationship as well. But, that's something that it's not really pushing. It's more kind of investigating and figuring out, okay, there are certain things that I can do that might engage deeper conversation.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think, especially, I think a lot of couples go through this. You develop a routine and there's a familiarity. In the beginning, you're very curious because you don't know who they are and there's so many questions you have and you're excited to reveal yourself. And if you started off that quiet, you wouldn't end up in a relationship. Usually, it's just the case. And a lot of people report that when the relationship becomes familiar and more casual and it has routines, they start to lose that curiosity, they start to lose that connection, and one or the other person might notice that first. So I think that's true. I think Nick's point, solution-focused, is correct. Look for exceptions to the rule. If the rule is you guys aren't talking very much, where have the exceptions shown up in your relationship? How can we do more of that? Another thing that I'd bring to this is some people look for a deeper explanation than there really is. Sometimes people believe, hey, it's this deep thing. It has to do with your family or who you are, how you're wired. Maybe, but here's the interesting thing about humans. We get into routines. If there's a routine that you don't like, in this case, silence and non-communication, interrupt that routine with an intentional thing. We call that an intervention. And so for a lot of couples, there are games that are out there. There are card games that stimulate conversation. There's all sorts of different kinds of like DVD questions and just I think having some kind of recreational, kind of fun, teasy way to sort of reapproach conversation and then to put that into your regular routine will kind of have the accidental effect of generating more conversation and more connection. So my off the bat recommendation is develop like a date night if you can that actually incorporates as part of it. It's not just, hey, it's pizza and it's wine and we watch a movie. That's fine, but go on Amazon, type in couples games and find like a fun date night game. And there's games that just generate things. They have good questions. They're like, hey, what was your first childhood memory? What was your favorite movie whenever you were a teenager? What was your first Valentine's Day like? Or whatever. They're designed to sort of disrupt that casual process that we all find ourselves into. Right. And I think that you're a new couple, and it sounds like it's a pretty serious relationship. As somebody who's been married for 11 years, I can tell you this is absolutely normal. Every relationship you're going to be in eventually reaches this point. It's actually kind of a good thing because it's become so familiar. Right. You don't have to fill the space. But if you want to sort of have an interruption of that and have some break in the silence, you have to intentionally build it in. Otherwise, it won't happen on its own. Yeah, I agree. I mean, having been in a lot of new relationships, you do get to that point where it's not that I'm closed off or that I don't want to talk. It's just that I don't know what else to say. Right. And it's not until a question is posed and I'm like, oh yeah, I never did tell you about this. Yes. And then, it kind of
triggers that thought.
And another example is this. A lot of people say, well, I feel like we're tuned into our phones. And so like I'll be sitting next to my mate. We're on a couch. The TV's playing. Neither of us are even watching it. We're both checking our phones and running through stuff. And I get that, guys. Ever since we started this pod, we've ruined a lot of relationships because a lot of people are like, they don't listen to me anymore. They just sit there and listen to Pod Therapy the whole time and tweet to you guys.
It has become a problem.
It's become a real epidemic, and what I tell them is, hey, listen, we took a vow to do no harm, okay? And so that's not what we want. What I tell people is download an app. Download an app like 20 Questions. Or go to a 20 Questions website and just use your phones. Use your phones at each other, text each other, or that's one of my favorite things to do for couples is actually have a day where they're not allowed to talk on a date night. They have to text each other, even though they're in the same room. That's actually a really fun activity to do. It's a really interesting thing to do. Huh. And it's quite, you usually put on music and you have something you're doing, but you're texting back and forth. That's actually a lot of fun. And another one is download the 20 Questions thing and have that be date night and just ask 20 questions. And it isn't, sometimes people are like 20 questions, who are you thinking of? Is it a man or woman? These 20 questions are like you can ask 20 inquisitive questions about the other person, and the other person's not allowed to repeat the same question twice.
Have you heard of the Book of Questions?
Oh, yeah.
By Gregory something or other. I can't remember what his last name.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, it's like 200 and some questions, yes. But they're really deep.
Yeah.
And it causes you to think because there'll be one question and then your answer to that is like, well, yeah, absolutely. But then there's a follow-up.
Yes.
That puts you in this really weird space where it's like you're almost contradicting what you just said.
Yes.
And it really challenges you. It's really interesting. And there's the original Book of Questions.
Right.
And then there's a Book of Questions Love and Sex Edition.
That's right.
Which is really interesting for
really
couples.
Good. Well, I know as therapists, one of the first things that we have to master is the ability to ask good questions because we're always trying to understand you better. And I know, for those who are not therapists out there, question asking isn't something that just comes completely naturally. We all think we're really good at it, but we actually have to study some really good books like that give us examples of good questions and good follow-up questions that really are not yes and no questions that sort of elicit a longer answer and give us more content to talk about. So my advice, I think, piggybacks on Nick again. There's resources, good ideas, games, books, apps, ways that you can mix it up. And just as the routine happens on its own, there's a way to break out of the routine with some intentional intervention that can actually steer you in the right direction. Mm-hmm. Good question.
Yes. Thank you for writing in. Follow up with us.
Yes.
A month or so. Let us know how things are going.
Yeah.
All right. Our next one comes to us from our website, also from an anonymous writer. Should I draw a boundary with my recovering mother-in-law? My mother-in-law was addicted to alcohol and opioids for a decade and recently went to rehab after becoming a grandma. Without any discussion, she moved to Vegas and is now pressuring us for a relationship and contact, but continues to behave oddly. For example, she bought my husband beer after he drove himself and our baby across Vegas to visit her. She won't attend family therapy, which is how we would like to move forward. Are we wrong for keeping our distance even though she's moved to town to be closer to our family?
That's definitely in our wheelhouse. I mean, we're talking drugs, we're talking families, we're talking Vegas. Yeah, we get it. So, Nick, right off the bat, I mean, when I hear that, the finishing line to that question, are we wrong to keep distance? Are we wrong to have a boundary? Nope. Nope. You get to do that.
You are healthy.
That's right. That's a healthy boundary. And, I realize that when we have somebody in our family who's recovering from alcohol or drugs, maybe they're recovering from prescription pain pill addiction or whatever, but for whatever reason, we've come to lose faith that they are trustworthy, that they are themselves, and that they are completely stable. It is entirely appropriate to create a boundary and to create conditions. And I think that's something that I hear the writer saying, Nick, is they're saying, well, we really want to have some family therapy to sort of ease into this new reality where she lives here, but she's not for it. Well, I think that that's a condition. And you can say, hey, you can pick the therapist, but we're all going to go see a therapist as a family once a month and work on this before we feel comfortable just throwing the doors open and letting you back in. What do you think about that, Nick?
Absolutely. Because setting boundaries is vitally important, both for the person in recovery as well as for the family.
Yes.
When we're talking about addiction, there is a lot of pain, hurt, suffering, and I would applaud your mother-in-law for getting into recovery, for getting help.
Yes.
And that's great. And that's wonderful. But one thing that, if she was in treatment, hopefully her counselor would have helped her understand is that just because you go into recovery doesn't mean everything is done. I mean, just like the comedian George Carlin once said, just because the monkey's off your back doesn't mean the circus has left town.
That's right. Wow, that's a good line.
And so there's a lot of trust issues that have likely been stirred up and disrupted because of this behavior. So it's going to take time. It's very important that you as the family member set those boundaries, and you are absolutely entitled to do that. You owe her nothing.
Yeah, and I think that, Nick, I like that you're starting off with the assumption of innocence, to say, hey, listen, yes, this person's in recovery. That's a good thing, and you want to reward that. And I understand as a family, it's like, hey, this person changed their life. They came out here to Vegas because they're healthy now, and we were part of the reason they got healthy. They wanted to be a part of this family. Excellent. And I think that there's a maintenance that's required, because just because she's turned a corner, now she's healthy, doesn't mean that you 3 or 4 in your household are also ready to turn that corner and have a healthy relationship with her. So I think family therapy is fair to set down as a condition. I would be thoughtful about how you impose boundaries. Some people do all or nothing, and they'll say, nope, we're not going to see you or talk to you or be a part of your life until we go to family therapy. That can be a little bit nihilistic, a little all or nothing. I don't necessarily think you should start there.
Well, and one of the things, I used to work a lot with families back at a job I had back in Iowa, and we had family group every Tuesday night. So the people in our rehab program were there with their family members, and we had one big group. And one thing that I would really stress to the family members, when the addicts and alcoholics were not in the room, when it was just the family members, I would really stress to them, it's awesome to set boundaries, but never set a boundary that you can't enforce.
Yes.
Because if you set a boundary that you don't mean and that you can't enforce, you're doing harm.
Yes.
Because essentially what you're going to do, I would have a wife tell her husband, if you drink one more time, I'm going to file for divorce.
Right.
And that's perfectly fine.
If you can back it up.
If you're going to do it. But if you set a boundary and then they cross it and you don't follow through, what did you just teach them?
Yes.
You just taught them that you don't mean what you say.
Yes.
So any boundary you set, make sure you're willing to follow through with it. And this is the difference between setting a boundary for protection, which is what we're supposed to do. We set boundaries for our own protection, versus setting boundaries as motivation.
Yes.
Setting boundaries as motivation tends not to work very well.
Right.
If I tell them this, then that will motivate them to change their behavior.
Yeah, that's another form of manipulation, whereas a boundary that kind of crowds them into good behavior is different. So another thing I'd come alongside Nick on that is, I want you to look up something for me, Anonymous who wrote this. I want you to look up something called SMART goals. And that's the acronym SMART, and that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound goals. And what that means is it's a different way of thinking about the things we put in front of ourselves. And it goes back to what Nick said about enforceable boundaries. So boundaries that you might want to put in front of your mother-in-law might be something like family counseling. It might also be something like meetings, like, hey, we're available to see you on the weekend if you hit 3 meetings this week and, you go to AA. Or it also could be location, and you could say, hey, we're available to see you at our house because I don't like the kids being over at your house. You bought beer for their dad. That's not kid-focused activity. I want you to be at our house. Or it could even be the kid-focused thing. You could say, hey, we're available to be around you as long as the children are the reason that we're coming together. The occasion should represent the presence of the kids. But these are some ideas of smart goal setting that's, intelligent boundary setting that's not trying to motivate them, but is trying to sort of create a space of safety. And I think that you're entitled to that. So you're doing nothing wrong. It's the right thing to do, and strongly encourage it. I think it's the right thing to do. And don't be afraid to go out and reach out to a substance abuse counselor, even for your family, because they can really give you that behind-the-scenes kind of information about what's helpful. There's actually a great book out there, if you want to pick it up, called Boundaries. And it's just about setting those smart boundaries with people in your life who are trying to get some more real estate in your world, and maybe you need to put up a fence.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. All right, so we've got another question here, Nick, and this is a good one, also anonymous. So anonymous has written us 3 times. I'm sure that's a plurality of anonymi.
Probably.
I believe the plural of anonymous is Illuminati. Is that how that works?
I don't know, but I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah, so this one is a third anonymous writer, also from the website. Again, if you'd like to submit a question or even give advice to the questions you've heard today, find this episode on podtherapy.net and just comment. You can comment as much as you like, and the readers and the folks that write these questions love to get that advice. This question is called, How Can I Repair My Self-Esteem? And it reads, My question is simple. How do I build confidence? I want to feel good about myself, my actions, and my behavior. But 90% of the time, I feel like I'm not enough and that everything I do is wrong. I just want to have fun and let go and be me and not give a crap. I take everything so seriously. How can I get to a place where I'm feeling good about myself and my actions and not constantly hearing negative self-talk in my head that wears me down?
Okay.
We can all relate to that, right, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. This one I can totally relate to.
Yes.
As a man who's lived most of my life with low self-esteem and very little confidence, I can relate to this 100%. My confidence that I have is actually pretty new. I would say I've been kind of working on building my confidence over the last 2.5 to 3 years. My confidence is still on lease, essentially.
Okay, I like that. Lease to own.
Exactly.
Yeah, at least I'm still paying it off. Yeah, the bank still owns my confidence. Yeah.
But this is a very common thing, and confidence is something that can be developed. It absolutely can. So I can give you some ideas, some things that worked for me, right? Number one, I would say take a look at your inner dialogue. We find what we look for. So when I'm hearing you say things like that I'm not good enough or that I'm doing everything wrong, if that's what you're looking for, that's exactly what you're going to find.
Sure.
I would really encourage you to set a daily goal of like checking in with yourself on a daily basis, even an hourly basis, if you need to. Set a reminder in your phone. And when that reminder goes off, I want you to think about what is one thing that I'm proud of myself for doing within the last hour.
Yes.
Because there's all sorts of things that we are doing well, that we are making progress. But the problem is that most of the things that we do for ourselves that are very important, no one else notices.
Right.
And if we rely on other people to say, hey, this morning I woke up at 5:30 to get to the gym. I didn't want to, but I forced myself to do it. And when I got there, guess what?
Right.
No one said, hey, good job.
Yeah. Nobody high-fived you.
No one noticed.
Not one person.
That I did that.
Nobody noticed it.
But I did.
Right.
And it's because I have trained myself, because I have practiced this over and over. I look for things to congratulate myself on.
Right.
And when I do that, I feel amazing. I feel good. And it doesn't matter if anybody else notices. I noticed, and I feel good about that.
I think that's huge.
So that would be number one. Number two, I would say start with the things in your life that you feel confident about and do those more often. Time is a zero-sum game, right? So if we're spending more time in one area, that means we have less time in other areas. Devote as much time as you can to things that provide you confidence, things that you feel really good about, and that confidence is going to start to leak into other areas of your life.
That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah. Number three, I would challenge yourself about using words like wrong and failure.
Yes.
If you do something wrong, that is just feedback.
Yes.
That's all it is. It's information that's pointing you towards the right answer.
It's like stubbing your toe on the table.
Yeah. It's
all it is.
As the best advice my father ever gave me. So what'd you learn?
Right. Every time you get hurt, what'd you learn from
What'd
that?
you learn?
Yeah. Don't do that again.
Yeah. So and that's how we succeed, right? So if we look at it from that perspective, there is no failure.
Right.
Like the saying about Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb, like he didn't fail 2,000 times. He learned 2,000 ways how not to build a light bulb.
Right.
Right.
I think that's good.
Yeah. Number four, take a look at the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
That's a big one. If you're surrounding yourself around people who are pessimistic, you naturally are going to kind of draw towards that. And, when we spend a lot of time with other people, we start picking up on their mannerisms. I start talking like Jim.
Yes.
Which irritates the hell out of me.
You sound so smart lately. Ever since we started this podcast, I feel like your spirits are up. No, but Nick, number 4 is a great point. I feel like, thank you. I'm in your life more. There
you go.
And you mentioned your self-confidence as a recent thing. I assume this is not a coincidence, You're welcome. You're welcome.
Is a great segue into number 5.
Don't be friends with Jim.
Give compliments.
Oh, there you go.
Because a lot of times social anxiety we have when we communicate with other people, if that's the source of our low confidence and low self-esteem, having conversations with people can be very difficult, which causes you to isolate.
Yes.
Which means I have fewer conversations, which puts even more weight and pressure on any conversation that I do have.
Yes.
So start off with a compliment. Practice giving people compliments. The reason why is because there's almost no way that conversation is going to go bad from there.
No. You lead with a compliment.
People love compliments.
Yes.
And if you give a compliment, they're going to respond favorably to that. You will have a good social interaction, which will help build your confidence.
And if you're looking for people to compliment, come down to podtherapy.net and just comment, and just say, Jim, you're a great guy. Everything's so awesome. I hear you have a gnarly gray beard now, so that's fantastic. And you'll feel better about yourself.
Right.
But I'll piggyback on that, Nick, because I think that's 5 really good points. The only thing I would add to that, and this is something that Nick and I see all the time as therapists, because this kind of mentality leads to a lot of other things like anxiety and depression. And I think for us, the common denominator is we're constantly getting people to track their thoughts and also ask themselves this very simple question. Is this a feeling or is this a fact? Because those tend to be different, right? So if I feel worthless, if I therefore infer that I am worthless, that's emotional reasoning. And I'm pretty sure the IRS doesn't accept emotions, instead of figures. Like, I'm pretty sure we got to find the facts. So ask yourself, is this a feeling or a fact? And then put the feeling on trial. Ask yourself, is there any evidence that I'm worthless? Is there any evidence that I'm not as valuable as I think I am? And then ask yourself to the contrary. Is there any evidence that violates this idea? Is there any evidence that invalidates this emotion? Are there people in my life that do value me? Is there any evidence in my life recently that if I have a job, if I have a friend, if I have family members, if somebody on Facebook clicked like on my podcast, then there's a little bit of evidence that maybe I have some value that I don't feel right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the last one, I've got number 6.
Oh, there were 6.
There was number 6. No, that's good. Do something for yourself.
Yes.
Self-care. Whether it be, trying a new hairstyle, getting a relaxing massage, updating your wardrobe.
Yes.
You are an amazing person and you deserve it. And this is something that I had to learn, and it has helped me so much. Yes. When I went through the most difficult part of my life, I felt devastated. I felt like I was worthless. I felt like I will never have another meaningful relationship ever again. I lost the most important person, and I'll never be able to reach that level again.
Right.
That is complete BS.
Right.
It is absolutely BS. And it for me, it started with I got a new haircut.
Right.
That's where it started. I went, I always used to get like the cost cutters or the standard, which isn't even really it's not a style. It's just you got shorter hair. That's all it really was. And so I decided, no, I'm going to go to a stylist.
Right.
I'm going to actually get like a hairstyle, and I'm going to do something different. And I did. And Kylie, my Stylist, if you're listening, shout out to you.
Oh.
I bet she's been cutting my hair now for 2 years.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool.
And at that moment, that was very pivotal for me.
Yes.
It all started right there. I felt better about myself.
Right.
And then I started buying clothes that actually fit.
Yes.
As opposed to just getting something off the rack. I put more effort into that, and I felt better that way.
Tailored.
And and things just kind of snowballed from there.
I just want to piggyback on that. Last thought on this from me, I think that there's 2 myths when it comes to self-esteem and the way that others affect it. The first myth is that other people make us feel not valuable. And the second myth is that other people make me feel valuable. Nobody can make you feel anything. They can do things. They can be a table at you and you can stub your toe. But you've got to be the one to pull away from that and sort of analyze the effect you allow those other people to have upon you. Your self-worth is your own estimation of your value. Nobody else should be able to affect that. Start with your own assessment of yourself. And it begins with the things that Nick identified. Those are self-care items. Start with that frame of reference, and you'll see that in time, you do care what other people think, but one of the things the writer wrote is, how do I get to a place where I give zero craps? I'm going to be honest, the writer did not use the word craps. But I think you get there by starting with the way you estimate yourself. Start there.
Yes. And Jim's not going to like this piece of feedback.
Okay.
This goes to our listener. It also goes to Jim.
Oh.
Diet and exercise.
Oh, God. Here we go. You sound like my wife. Here we go.
There is no better way to take care of yourself than to watch what you eat and get active, exercise, take good care of yourself. You are a higher performance automobile, Jim.
Oh, God.
You got to put good fuel into that engine.
No, I'm an SUV. I'm a Honda Odyssey with kids goofing off in the back. Noted. Thank you, Nick. Thanks for caring about my health.
You bet. And thank you for writing in. We appreciate that.
Yes. Always appreciated, guys. Thank you very much. That's all the time that we've got for this week's session. Thank you to those who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Help us reach others by sharing this episode. You can find us at facebook.com/podtherapy or on Twitter @podtherapyguys.
Do you want to add your own advice to today's questions? Post your thoughts at podtherapy.net and join the conversation. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Dr. Graybeard.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.